What's going on, YouTube? It's Steve O'Hoppa, and today I'm coming at you with a video that I hope you'll find interesting. In my last video, I showed you the reveal of my big announcement, my new 125-gallon aquarium that replaces my 75-gallon aquarium for my African cichlids. In this video, I'd like to share with you a time-lapse of the process of switching out these two aquariums. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so I hope it turns out well. I'll provide narration along the way explaining the process that I went through. I hope that you'll find this video interesting and hopefully helpful if you should ever find yourself in the position of switching out aquariums like I did. Let's get started. In my fish room, I actually have two aquariums. I have my large tank, my main show tank if you want to call it that, but I also have a small grow out tank that I have originally off to the right of my big tank. So the first thing I actually had to do was get that tank moved out of the way because there's not going to be enough room over in that same place for the new 125 and the 29-gallon grow out. So I had to drain it, move it to its new position, get it refilled, and that was step number one. Now that the 29-gallon grow out has been moved and is back up and running, it's time to start prepping to shut down the 75-gallon aquarium. The first step is to get a temporary holding tank set up for my fish while I'm swapping out the two tanks. For this, I used a 32-gallon trash bin that I purchased at my local Lowe's. You can find these almost anywhere, just make sure you rinse it out first. In order for my fish to survive with as little stress as possible while in the barrel, there are a few things that I needed to get ready. First, I wanted the water to be as similar as possible to what they're coming out of in the tank. I use cichlid salts in my tanks, so I used them in the holding tank as well. I'll make another video sometime in the future about why I use cichlid salts. Next, I needed to make sure that the water remained a safe temperature, so I hung a spare heater in the barrel. And lastly, I also needed to make sure that the water stayed oxygenated. For this, I used a battery-powered air pump hooked to a 4-inch air stone. With these three things in place, the barrel would be a safe holding tank for my fish for a few hours. Before moving my fish over, I also moved my rock work over into the barrel. This allowed the beneficial bacteria on the rocks to stay alive. Then it was time to move the fish. The fish can be quick little buggers, so be patient as you're trying to catch them. Also, allow your water to start draining at this point, because with less water, it's easier to catch them. Also take the opportunity, while you're draining the water, to clean out the sand. Since this sand was going into my new tank, I wanted it to be as clean as possible. So while letting the water drain down to catch the fish easier, I cleaned the gravel. Once all the fish were removed, I used some of the remaining water to clean the inside of the tank. Then I began unhooking all of the accessories like the heater, circulation pumps, and canister filter. I would recommend not cleaning out your filter at this point, even though it may seem like a good idea. Now that the tank is drained, cleaned, and all of the accessories are removed, it is time to remove the substrate. I wanted to move my substrate over not only because I liked it, but because that substrate also houses quite a bit of beneficial bacteria. This, along with the rockwork and grungy canister filter, makes sure that the new tank is instantly cycled and doesn't crash as soon as I set it up. To remove the sand, I used a new dustpan. The flat, blade-like edge of a dustpan makes it easy to scoop up gravel from the bottom of the tank. Now that the old tanks are moved, I took the opportunity to run a vacuum and electric mop over the area where my tanks were. May as well clean that area while I can. Then, with the help of my wife, we brought in the new stand and tank. Even though my room is relatively small and it's a tight turn at the end of the hallway, we were able to get them into the room by standing them on end and carefully sliding them in on a towel. 6-foot tank will fit through a normal doorway just fine, but if you decide to do this, please be very careful. They're very top heavy while they're on end, and the last thing you want is for a stand, or even worse, the tank, to come crashing down. Now that the tank is in place, I measured the back of both sides to make sure the tank was parallel to the wall. Then, setting up the new tank is essentially the reverse of taking down the old one. It was about this point that I realized I had missed one crucial step when setting up my new aquarium. I purchased an LED light strip to put behind my tank for visual effect. However, this should have been attached before the tank was slid in against the wall. I realized this when the tank was already about 1/3 full of water, and since there wasn't enough room for me to reach across the entire length of the tank, I had to stop filling the tank and pull it away from the wall so that I could attach the light strip. While you might not be attaching a light strip to the back of your tank or stand, it would behoove you to think through the entire process before and during the tank swap. Take your time and don't be in a rush. This will save you from wasting time and making the job harder than it really needs to be. If you watch carefully here, you'll see a cloud of waste puff into my tank as I turned my canister filter on. I think while I was moving the canister filter, I jostled it around and broke up some of the waste that was in there, allowing it to backfill through the system. So when I turned it on for the first time on the new tank, it shot a lot of that into the tank. I was pretty bummed about this at first. However, the filter quickly did its job and the water cleared up just fine. Now that everything is set up and turned on, I checked everything to make sure it was working properly. Then, I drained down quite a bit of the water in my holding barrel and put the fish into their new tank. You'll want to make sure that the temperature of the water in the new tank is pretty close to the same as the temperature of the water in the barrel. Even though the water parameters should be identical, you don't want to shock them for temperature. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next one.